Out of these five basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead, or Krishna, or Brahma, or Supreme Controller, or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality life like a Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs, over material nature, etc. As will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of Supreme Lord. As Lord Sri Krishna says, Prakrti is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic magnification there is controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it, but a sane man knows the nature of automobiles engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is a driver under whose direction everything is working. Now, the Jivas or the living entities have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in the later chapters, as his parts and parcels. A particle of gold is also gold, a drop of water from the ocean is also salty, and similarly, we are the living entities being part and parcel of Supreme Controller Ishvara or Bhagwan Lord Shri Krishna have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in a minute quantity because we are minute Ishvaras, subordinate Ishvaras. We are trying to control nature as presently we are trying to control space or planets, and this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have a tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the supreme controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior Prakrti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior Prakrti. Prakrti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakrti is female and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of the wife are controlled by the husband. Prakrti is also subordinate, predominant by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entity and material nature are both predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and the material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in 7th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Apriyatam itas tiva yayam. The Prakriti is my lower nature. Prakritam vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabhavo yayedam dravrate jagat. And beyond this, there is another Prakriti, Jiva, Bhutam, the living entity. Prakriti itself is considered by three qualities: the mode of goddess, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is an eternal time, and by the combination of these modes of nature and under the control and preview of eternal time, these are the activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activity. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have assumed a great bank balance. Then I am an enjoyer. But then I see I lost all money in business, then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the result of our work or we suffer the result. This is called karma. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, nature, eternal time, and karma activities are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of this five, the Lord, the living entities, and the material nature and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real but temporary. It is likened up to a cloud which moves across the sky or in a coming season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti, but the cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal, it is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of Supreme Lord, and similarly, the living entities are also the energy of Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related. So, the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and the time are all interrelated and all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the result of our activities from the time immemorial, but we can change the result of our karma or our activities, and this change depends on the perception of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the action and reactions of all these activities, but this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. The position of Ishvara is the supreme consciousness. The jivas or the living entity, being parts and parcel of Supreme Lord, are also consciousness. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the jivas, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the jiva Prakriti is also called superior because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to Lord's. The Lord is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely consciousness. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at the stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so in a misleading theory. Consciousness he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious.